This video goes over our call tracking tokens and our IVR prompts, which are basically tokens that have prompts on them. So I'm going to go ahead and click on call routing, go to tokens and IVR prompts. Just sort these out so it'll make a little more sense. They were sorted by date. Okay, so when you first set up your system, you get a brand new account, we automatically are going to create browser, landing page, and operating system, and S1 through S5, which are basically some common tracking variables that different tracking systems use, sub ID 1 through sub ID 5, whatever you want to call it. So we've defined S1 through S5 for you. The rest of these tokens I have created myself, like gclit from Google Analytics, call type, and then all these student loan consolidation ones I have here. Now we have two different types of tokens, some that have prompts on them and some that don't. So for example, this S1 here, if I edit that, you can see here I said I'm not requesting a response, so this token here is nothing more than a variable, a user-defined variable basically, for you to help you with tracking some information. Now if I look back at the tokens again and I view one of these prompted ones, like are you late? So this is student loan consolidation payment status. Make them whatever colors you want. I said I am going to request a response from the user. I want to play an audio, choose a file, I've already chosen this one, and then my responses are going to be when they press 1 they're late, 2 means they're current, and 3 means it's in garnishment. And that's what this prompt would have said. So I'm going to show you from scratch how to create one. I'll just add a token here, and I'm going to do SLC, oops, I capitalized SLC num fed loans. So how many federal loans do they have? I'm going to go ahead and request a response, choosing this file, and then there's going to be 2 responses. And I've pre-recorded that, or I had that recorded at Voice Bunny. I'm going to play that real loud so you can hear what a Voice Bunny recording sounds like.
How many federal student loans do you have? Press 1 if you only have 1 loan. Press 2 if you have 2 or more loans.
Okay, so that means that I'm going to have those 2 values. So I'm going to have in here only 1 federal loan, and over here I had 2 or more. So when the user presses 1 when they're prompted, I'm going to store these text values based on which keystrokes they're pressing. Okay, so that is a prompted token. So you can have as many tokens as you want in the system. They're basically your own tracking variables that you're creating yourself, and you can do whatever you'd like. Now, how do these all function? Okay, let's look at our buyer here. So I had this buyer we'd set up before that only wanted calls in Illinois, or did not want calls in Illinois or New York. He wanted to make sure the call type was search, and he wanted the type of debt to be federal only, or both federal and private, but not private by itself, and he wanted the debt amount to be over 10K. So I'm going to add in here that this guy wants to make sure that the consumer has more than 2 loans. So I'm going to go to the num federal loans equals, and I'm going to choose that he only wants 2 or more. He doesn't want people that only have 1 federal loan. And then I'd update the buyer. Okay, so now when this buyer is next in line to get a call, if we haven't already resolved his tokens, then we would I just edited that. So resolve his tokens, we're going to prompt for the tokens if we don't resolve them. So in the student loan consolidation offer, let me refresh this. Okay, so here's that buyer here in the offer. So the greeting is going to play, press 1 to be connected to the next available agent. We might add in press 2 if you want a new loan, press 9 if you're looking for Department of Education. I covered that in our offer maintenance before. But when the consumer does press 1, we then come down to the when 1 is pressed routing, and we're going to have all our buyers listed here that take student loan consolidation. Now I have many customers that have 50, 60, 70 buyers on one offer. That's fine. All our thinking happens in the buyer records, their hours of operation, caps, things like that. But in discussing the tokens here, if this guy was next in line, we're going to make sure that we're matching all his tokens. Like this call type is coming from a search number, that the federal debts over 10K, that he has 2 or more loans, and that he has federal or both type of debt. Okay, if we didn't already have those prompted tokens, IVR tokens, answered, we'd start asking those questions on behalf of this buyer. Okay, if any of those questions fail from what the buyer wants, this buyer would no longer be available to take the call, and then we'd switch and go to this guy. He has no filters, so he's going to get the call. If he did have filters that we hadn't resolved already by asking questions here, we would continue asking questions for this buyer. Now, I said if the tokens haven't already been resolved. What's cool about the way our system works is it's dynamic on the IVR. So not only can you put different questions for different buyers depending on what they want, but we can also resolve the answers to those questions elsewhere. So I can either import a database of leads, and then maybe I'm emailing those clients, and when they call in, the leads I imported into the system prior to emailing them telling them to call in might have all these fields already resolved, so TrackDrive will pick up all those token answers, and we go to resolve those tokens for the buyer. We'd already have the answers and wouldn't have to ask. Another way that we can populate tokens is from a web form. So I might have the person filled out all this information, hits contact me, that data is posted to TrackDrive. The consumer can either call from this number here before the form is filled out, and then we wouldn't know who he is if we didn't have any lead data, and we'd prompt for all those tokens. If he does press contact me and the lead is posted to TrackDrive, and then on the thank you page, even if you use this one phone number, still on the thank you page, when they're calling from the thank you page, because you posted the data to us, we can already pick up those token answers, so then when we go to filter the call, we may already have some answers, and it streamlines the IVR process. So our IVR is dynamic that way. The same thing would happen if you're loading leads in for a scheduler, where you load it up and tell us to text the consumer and then call them 90 seconds later and send them this email. Well, because you give us all the data in the lead that's supposed to start the schedule, we'll also have all that information already, which will allow us to have our IVR be very dynamic. So basically, this is how the call IVR tokens work, and how it's going to be a dynamic IVR for you as you use our tokens and IVR prompts.